So I'm just going to introduce myself for those of you who may not know me. I'm the assistant director, or I'm Kendra Hein, the assistant director of the Center for Career Success here at Knox College. And I'll let my supervisor there, Scott, introduce himself real quick.
I'm Scott Crawford. I'm the executive director of the Center for Career Success. I've been at Knox for right at 2 years. And for Jennifer and Amanda, I'm the one that approves your jobs when they come through on Handshake. So we're excited that you're here and thank you for doing this for us.
Eric, did you want to say hi?
Yeah, I really want to thank everyone for joining us. The Center for Career Success has put on a wonderful program today virtually. And so for some of you students who have logged in for a couple of the sessions today, or if you're logging in for the first time, I think you're going to really enjoy this opportunity. My name is Eric Johnson. If we haven't met before, I work in alumni engagement with the alumni engagement team. My role there is helping create connections with alumni for career roles and helping get alumni more engaged with the college as it relates to career interests for students and making those connections. So if I can ever provide assistance as far as connecting with alumni who are in a field that you want to learn more about, please feel welcome to contact me anytime. And it's just great to team up. You've put on a great program today, and so it's been quite enjoyable. Even though we've been virtual, this has been good, and I've learned a lot throughout the day. So thank you.
Thank you. So I'll turn it over to you both. Amanda, do you want to start first?
Sure. Should I just introduce myself and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, give like maybe a background of what you did, what you majored in and things like that,
Sure.
of what your role is at Enterprise.
Yeah. So my name is Amanda Mast. I am what's called a talent acquisition specialist for Enterprise. My territory currently covers Central and Northern Illinois, all of Iowa, and then part of Nebraska and part of South Dakota. I started right out of school. I went to Western Illinois University, so not far. I went there for my undergrad, and then I did get my MBA from Northern Illinois before starting at Enterprise. But we have what's called a management training program that everyone within our company starts within. So that happens after your 4-year degree. We also have internships sprinkled throughout the year in different cities as well. But that MT program is teaching all about sales, all about customer service, how to read financial statements, how to work with our risk management team, business management. Every department and division we have within the company recruits from the same daily rental path. So I was a management trainee as well, ran my own branch for a bit in Springfield and Peoria before doing this job. But the sky's the limit. I call Enterprise a corporate jungle gym. There's no right or wrong path. There's no one straight and narrow way. You really can try different things and see where your skill set fits best. So that is a little bit about me.
Thank you. Jennifer, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, my name is Jennifer Wells. I am currently a member coordinator for a nonprofit, American Conservation Experience. Very different fields than Amanda. Basically, we partner with federal lands management agencies like the National Park Service and the Bureau of Land Management to help them get interns. It's a pretty hard place to get your foot in the door, so internships are pretty much mandatory. So for my background, I went to the College of New Jersey I majored in biology, and then I graduated, had no idea what to do with my life, so I took an internship. So I interned at a national park doing invasive species management, and then I moved on to another internship, kind of doing, plant surveys for national parks and monuments. But I actually now am working for the organization that I first interned with, which is really special because I get to, help others kind of find their path in this crazy world. So yeah, just happy to be here and talk about what I'm passionate about.
Thank you so much. So I kind of want to just start with a general question. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have, at least a couple people from different industries is to kind of talk about not, you know, necessarily specific to your industry, but even though that helps, but just like a general idea or general knowledge for students to understand, what do, you know, companies generally look for in interns on their applications? You know, I know it probably does vary, you know, Jennifer, with more government, especially federal government, than it would, you know, on the business side of Amanda's. But if each of you could attest to that, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, so I mean, we are an entry level position that, you know, everyone within the company starts off with. So to be honest, I give everyone a 30-minute interview if they qualify for the position. So meaning most of the time, like, you know, are you over the age of 18? Do you have a driver's license? You know, are you graduated or graduating? Very basic qualifications. So of course the resume is going to be an important part of, you know, the interview process, but I think that a lot of the important parts are going to be looking at the job that you're applying for and then entering in those same types of words, looking and comparing the two go a long way. But at the end of it, I think just selling yourself in the interview process is probably the most important part for us because we're that entry level job. We understand people, you know, don't know all the tricks of the trade quite yet, and they're still gathering all of that, but just having fun throughout the process, you know, getting to know us, we're getting to know you, and kind of making it that laid back type of environment is really important for us. So
Yeah, and just jumping off of that, it's kind of the same thing for my organization. Sometimes this is the first job that some of these students have. So we do let things slide. We know you're not like seasoned professionals. We really just want somebody who is, you know, passionate and excited to try new things. One thing that I will highly recommend is reading the job announcement. That is really important to, you know, really understand the qualifications, understand like what the project will be. Because if, you know, I have so many people applying, I can kind of tell if they have not read the actual position. So if you find something that you really want, I would take your time going through that application process, read all the directions, reach out directly to the recruiter if you're comfortable with that. It does make you stand out, but really follow all the directions. Really makes you, you know, the best candidate. We notice that because we do go through so many applications pretty quickly. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Does that bring up any questions so far for students who are on here?
Yeah, I have a question. So Jennifer, you said like reach out directly to the recruiter. So if you were to do that, like what would you say when you're reaching out? Is it just like a simple like, hi, I'm applying for this job, just want to make sure my application got through or something like that, or a little different?
Yeah, no, it's totally up to you. That's one thing that I've seen before, like, hey, just want to confirm that you got my application, reiterate your interest, maybe, you know, add some things that weren't in your cover letter. That's another way that you can really stand out is your cover letter, because, you know, a lot of resumes, they look the same, but the cover letter is really where you can stand out and, you know, sell yourself. And another thing I would mention is probably, you know, obviously talk about why you want the position, but maybe kind of talk about your connection to either the mission of the company or the organization or the specific program, because that really shows the recruiter that you understand the position and really do want it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lauren, did you have a question earlier? Okay, no worries. Did anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Yeah, I have a question. So, what mistakes do you see students usually make when they apply for internships, especially when they write resumes?
I think for us, you know, the resume is there, and I'll look through that and read that. But I think what it comes down to is throughout our lifetime, we're going to have opportunities for a ton of job interviews, and we'll be qualified for that job interview. You know, like I was telling Kendra, I have a job interview for a promotion within my same company tomorrow. And, you know, they can look at my resume and my packet and all these things I send them. But at the end of the day, you know, I would really focus on the connection that you're building throughout your interview. And I think that's like the make or break piece is, am I connecting with them in a way that they see that I can fit on this team? You know, a piece of paper, it can go either way. I've looked at pieces of paper and I thought, this is going to be a great interview. I'm going to love this person. And then I don't. Or the other way around where I'm kind of like, well, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to get out of, you know, this interview or what I'm going to think. And then they end up being a rock star because maybe they see my energy in the interview and they've now matched that. They're enjoying the process, right? Like an interview is meant to be fun, and interactive. So, you know, I would really focus on preparing for the interview part of it a lot more, at least in my sense. We work with customers, we work with people, like the person-to-person interaction that I get in an interview, I'm expecting that person to have with my customers and our employees. So that's really what I focus on, maybe even more than a resume, because we're going to give everyone the chance to interview with us, so that qualify.
For us, it's a little different. I wish I could interview everyone, but we do get so many applicants that it kind of really is a hurdle to get to that interview part of it. So I'd say some common mistakes, submitting the wrong cover letter for a job that I am not offering. That is pretty blaring. Can't really miss it. Listing references, make sure you get like the best possible references you can. I've seen people put down like their mom and like their grandparents, and like, while that is, I'm sure they would give an awesome reference, it's not really what we're looking for in the professional world. Some other mistakes that I see are, you know, not really making your resume or cover letter your own and stand out. I'm pretty sure it's like LinkedIn or something where you can just put in your information and it spits out a resume. I have seen so many of those that they don't look very nice, and they don't really sell like what you can bring. So I'd say really make sure to work on your resume and cover letter and make them look nice, and represent you accurately. But yeah, beyond that, the interview is super, super important. And I would totally agree with Amanda. I know it's nerve-wracking, but it's supposed to be fun. If you're more laid back, we can tell, and it really shows. And one thing I heard pretty recently is like, if you're nervous, just think that the interviewer, like, they want you to succeed. We want you to do your best and get this position. So with that in the back of your mind, yeah, hopefully that kind of calms the nerves and lets you talk about yourself and also have fun.
Excellent questions. Yes, Scott.
Oh, sorry. Am I unmute? Okay. Something that Amanda said I thought was quite intriguing. So this could go for both of y'all, but you said you see the resume and they look great, right? And then they get in there and you don't like them. Could you talk about what happens to make you not like them?
Yeah.
Effective for students.
Yeah. So I think one thing is their career goals, you know, looking at what the job posting is, and then ask, what are your career goals? Knowing the fact that we don't know what our life holds, right? But they're like, oh, I really want to be an archaeologist. And I'm like, well, this isn't quite the place for that. You know, that's one of the big things I think is, you know, your major could be very relevant to us, and then your career goal is something that's not. I had somebody the other day who's business administration but wants to be a police officer. Okay, well, doesn't quite line up there. So I think that's one of the big things. And then the other thing is just the energy piece. That is so important for us, because I know that, if I can build a connection with that person in 30 minutes, that they're going to be able to build a connection with the customer in 30 seconds. So I think just opening up and matching whoever you're talking with's energy, and maybe it's not that way in every interview. Maybe this isn't the vibe that you're getting, and that's okay. But whenever I start my interview off, I'm like, what did you do this weekend? Did you have fun? Did you watch the games? And they're just like, yep. That's where I want them to start loosening up and getting, the feel of what we're about, because I just know that that's how they're going to be with customers in 30 seconds. And they've got 30 whole minutes to do that with me. So those two things I think are just like focused on, hey, here's what I want in the future, and this is what you have that I can match it. And secondly, just your personality, have fun.
Yeah, I definitely second that. I can have the perfect application, the perfect person for this internship, and we get on the phone and I ask questions and I get like a sentence answer, and like that's not doing you any favors. It's really important, even though other internships that aren't like public facing, maybe a little more clerical or behind the scenes, it's still important to have that energy in an interview. And there's a couple things you can do to kind of practice. I know personally, I researched interview questions and kind of wrote them out with my answers. And I know it sounds silly, but just speaking them out loud really helps in your delivery. So that helps as well. And, mock interviews with your mom, like that, it's totally fine, with your friends, just to get a little more comfortable talking about yourself, because it can be a little uncomfortable.
Yep, that's literally what I'm doing after this with my boss, is practicing interviewing questions. And I dread it, even though I do it all day. Like, I'm not looking forward to it, even though I know it's a good thing for me to do for tomorrow. So
I think you both make great points too, because even the most reserved people, which I understand is, if you're extremely introverted and, communication is, something that is harder to come by for you, being able to find ways like practicing, with someone you're comfortable with off the top, like just straight away, whatever else, just talking to them in general will eventually help you become a bit more comfortable with just being able to talk about yourself, because that's essentially what you're doing anyway. Like, you're answering questions that they have, but at the same time, that's questions about you. So the more you become comfortable with yourself, the more you kind of become comfortable with answering those questions as well. And again, it's just practice. And like Amanda said, even though she's going to be doing this tomorrow, it's still something that, you may not, even if you're in that role, whatever, she may not be comfortable with, many years down the road, or, so like everything, it just comes with practice. So I do have a kind of a question, a follow-up question for that. So do you generally, with internship or interns that you're looking for, that meet the requirements and are, end up being wonderful people to talk to, do you generally hire, do you look to hire applicant or interns that eventually could potentially work for those companies as well? Or is it kind of like, we just need these temporarily and we're done?
we don't. So we hire interns with the intention that they will have a job offer at the end of their internship. So we don't hire a lot of interns in the group that I cover. We hire them with intention of, they'll have their final interview through at the end of the internship. And then they'll hopefully come on full time. So we have spring, summer, and fall interns. So like right now I have 16 spring interns that will all graduate in May, and they'll go through a final interview, in April, and hopefully secure a job offer for after they graduate. So day one of an intern and day one of an MT look very similar. So if you complete the internship, you're basically 30, 60, 90 days ahead of what you would do come May, let's say. So it's a great opportunity. It doesn't hinder someone for not doing it by any means, but we hire them with the hope that they get a job offer.
We are the opposite. So we are a nonprofit that partners with those land agencies. So we have no ability to, have that offer for them. Federal hiring is, I don't want to say a mess, but like it is so complicated that would be amazing if we could offer that job at the end. So what we're really looking for is your connection, your passion to those land agencies and what we do. And you know, you don't have to be 100% what you want to do. We know that these are entry level. A lot of programs that we offer are, you know, basically just professional development. Like maybe this is something you want to do, you want to try it out, like come on over. So those are really special. And, you know, we do have those success stories where we have interns who get permanent jobs, you know, with the National Park Service, which are so much fun. And, you know, that's why I do what I do. Like navigating early career is so confusing that it just feels really good, you know, helping people get to where they want to go. So in our case, as long as you have the drive and the passion for what you're applying for, you know, you'll be considered, because, you know, there's career changes all the time, and you can try something out and not really like it. And that's also good information. So yeah.
Thank you. Students, do you have more questions?
Such a quiet group.
They're all tired. They're exhausted from finals.
They probably are tired from finals. I've got a question that I would like to ask. So let's say that you have an intern and they're really doing well, right? Or maybe not so well, I don't know. But let's say that they come to you in the middle of their internship and they say, I would like to get some additional experience, or I'd like to do something a little bit different or try something new within this. How do you treat that? Is that like a possibility? How would they go about that? We know a lot of students, you know, end up not really enjoying their internship so much. I'm saying this not just at Knox, but I've been in this for a long time at every school where I've worked. But that's an interesting, you know, experience to have. And so how do you handle that?
I would probably ask them where they see their career path going. Because, you know, at the end of the day, for us, everybody starts off in the same boat as that management trainee. And I think it's also fair to say that in a 90-day internship, you know, they're probably going to have ups and downs, and they're not going to be able to see like a long-term career path in just a short 90 days. So it is really hard to get that big picture across. But I would just challenge them and say, hey, I understand where you've been. Like, I've been in their shoes, right? Like I've been a day one employee as an MT and walked in their path, but I've also trusted the process, and I've been able to ask my peers and see their path and see the people around me's path, and know that if I ask to job shadow them and they know that that's something I'm interested in long term, they're going to always keep me in mind for future position openings. But I would personally challenge them to, you know, embrace the challenges, because at the end of the day, like not every day is going to be great. And I think I've just learned with like my peers around me, leaving jobs, coming back, you know, all of these things, like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And to embrace those struggles and figure out how to get through them to see the other side. So that would be my advice. 90 days is so short. You can only do so much. So
Thank you.
Yeah. The internship like goal or duties are probably not going to switch that much, but what like the best thing that you can do is really speak up and be an advocate for yourself. So if you want to learn something else, ask your supervisor, and they can either teach you or put you in contact with somebody who can help you out. I know for our internships, We really do focus on professional development. So we love to do what we call cross training. So if we have an intern doing, natural resource management, and they are like, I wonder what a life in the day of a park guide is, which is completely different. We have those days where you can hang out with the park guide and see what that's about. So that's what I would say, is really just speak up if you're interested in learning about other things. It really shows that, you're invested in the internship and, ready and willing to learn too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Jennifer, you said you were talking about cover letters and the importance of them. Could you go into a little bit more detail about like what you're looking for with the cover letters? And also, Amanda, you can also speak to this.
Yeah, cover letters. They're so important. I usually spend more time on cover letters than resumes, honestly. So of course, make it look professional, address it to somebody, and then, talk about what you would bring to the table. And, I would also say you can talk about what you would get out of this opportunity as well. I know one of the questions I ask in my interviews is, what you're hoping to learn or gain from this internship, and then also how it ties in with your future career goals. So like making that connection is really important. Other than that, you can kind of make it your own. Don't be too informal. I've had cover letters. I had one that started out with A, and I was like, no. So, that level of professionalism, it shows the recruiter how you write, how you present yourself. So yeah.
I don't really look at them that much. Just because I think our biggest difference is that if someone's qualified for us, we do interview them. So everything that you are narrowing candidates down in by paper, I'm narrowing it down in that first step of interview, since it's 2 to 3 interviews for the whole process. So I think it's never a bad idea, since you don't know like what you're going to get in the process, whether someone's going to look at it or not look at it, and what their expectations are. So it's always best to just do it and attach it. And if someone looks at it, they look at it. If they don't, that's okay too. So yeah, love your advice though.
Yeah, and if they do ask for a cover letter, definitely submit one. I have so many people who just submit their resume, and I guess they hope that's good enough, or they didn't read the directions very well. So, just having it in there also shows that you're paying attention. So.
I've got a question about that for both of y'all too. So I forget which one of y'all mentioned this, but I think it's the reading the instructions kind of thing. It may have been you, Jennifer. We talk a lot about how it's really not super hard to make yourself look really good in this process, because so many people do it poorly. Is there a percentage of people that you see that you're like, we're going to look at these now, there's another percentage that you're like, what? Like what's happening here kind of thing? Is it a general?
Yeah, that's a really good question, but one that, has a million answers. So it totally depends on, each position. We have pretty entry-level positions, but also more like fellowships, which are a little higher caliber. So I'd say in general, people are pretty good. There's probably like 25% where I open up the application and I'm like, what were you thinking when you submitted this? But, it really does stand out when you listen to all of the directions. It might sound silly, but each organization or company is different. The number of applicants is always different. So if you really present yourself well, I'm going to take a longer time looking at your application. Whereas if I see something wrong, it's like already a tick mark off and I'm like, should I keep going? So yeah, redirections, follow them. It's pretty easy.
And that's something like if I'm like iffy, let's say I like someone in their interview and their resume had one the other day that said their goal was to like work in athletics. And so I'm like, okay, so I'll normally forward their resume on to the next step in the process. And I'll give feedback, whether it's on the resume or whether it's on a question that they answered, like, hey, I think you did really great here, but here's some things I want you to take to your next interview. And the second step or whatever step they're in, that's next, I tell them like, hey, I asked them to do this or bring more energy or whatever it is. So that way, if they do it, that's great. Like they've taken the feedback and they've done something about it. And if they haven't brought the energy, they haven't done, whatever was given to them, then it's kind of a way to say, well, we told them there's something to work on, and now here we are, in that same boat as the previous interview. So always take any feedback that you've been given and try to implement that in your next interview if you are moved on in the process.
Thank y'all.
I have a question. So I think a possible mistake that I've been making, I'm not even sure if it's a mistake yet, but a lot of the times I think that interns sometimes they get the job, and when they start working, they learn start learning the things that they don't know in order to do the job well. So what I sometimes include in my application is I say, I'm qualified for the job, and if there's something I don't know, then I can learn very quickly. And I'm not sure if that's a mistake or not, because maybe I might be overthinking, but maybe the recruiter might think that, oh, this guy says that there's some things that he might not know yet. Does that mean he's not qualified yet? Some sort like that.
I would say that that's a good thing to bring up like in your interview process, possibly. For us, like making mistakes and thinking outside the box and coming up with a solution when maybe you haven't seen that before, that's stuff we do every single day. So it's definitely not a bad thing to be open to learning new things and trying something that's maybe not what you've done before. I don't think that's a bad thing. Wouldn't quite know how to word it for a resume, but I think like in my interview process, I talk a lot about I ask a question about making a decision on the fly. When has been a time that you've had to think on your feet and kind of go with your gut? So we have to do that sometimes, and we can fix mistakes, right? But we would rather have people that are confident in their skills and what they do know in order to make that decision that maybe they don't know. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I would just maybe implement it in a different part of your process.
Yeah, I agree. I think the application, the resume and the cover letter is your chance to show what you do know, not exactly to, point out the places where you may be lacking. So I would say, yeah, it's probably better to address that in an interview, because if you've gotten that far, they saw from your application that you were qualified. So if you're in the interview process, that's a good thing. And if they ask you about something maybe you don't have as much experience in, be honest. Don't like lie and say you do have experience. But I would say, you can kind of twist it and say, no, I don't really have that much experience with that, but I am super excited to learn. So you can kind of reframe it.
Thank you.
I kind of want to piggyback off of that too. So if students have, because a lot of times we recommend, if a student is researching a specific company, or have questions about, an application process that we're not going to know because we're not the, the organization hiring. Do you welcome when, students reaching out to you for, to have those questions, or not even just students, but, people that are applying for jobs, do you recommend them reaching out to you specifically to try to clarify some things beforehand, or is that too much? And I always wonder that, with recruiters, because I think it's, dependent upon how busy you are and, if that's just something that's annoying to you or not.
Yeah, I don't mind. If someone has a question, I'm more than happy to answer it. I also think that if it's a question about applying, like, I'm all ears to help on that, or if they have any trouble getting the application submitted. Otherwise, I would say that I always leave time at the end of the interview for any questions for me just about the process. And I always say that I'm getting to know you, but you're getting to know me right back. So I would say, like, any questions like that, just bring to the interview. And I've even had times where it's went over and then I've just scheduled, I'm like, hey, I have another interview, but I'll call you back at, 4:00 or whatever. Just like go over some more stuff too. So
I say it can't hurt to reach out. It's not going to disqualify you from anything. So, if they are super busy and don't have time to answer, that's fine. But I know I consider that part of my job. I love professional development. So I am always open to, responding to questions, or even after interviews, people reach out and ask me like, oh, what could I have done better? Or even if they don't get the position, how could I make my application better? So I always answer those because I know I am working with young people who don't have a lot of experience. Maybe this is their first time applying to a job. So I leave time to answer those. So I would say, give it a shot.
Thank you. Very good to know.
I also would say, this is total different topic than anything, but so I like look a lot at resumes and source people through like Indeed and LinkedIn. And so it's a great place to put your resume out there for us to find you. And so I remember being in school and my teachers telling me, like, use keywords on your resume. And I was like, what the heck is a keyword? And what does that mean? And so now, like, being on this side of things, I understand that more. And so to give people maybe a little bit of insight on what that looks like from our end is, I can go on Indeed and I can go on LinkedIn and I can type customer service, sales, leadership, athlete, Northwestern Mutual. I can type companies, describing words, positions, titles, you name it. And then I type a city and then I click enter, and it will literally generate thousands of resumes that you can sort through. So that's a keyword. So, I have one of our job applications pulled up for the MT program, and it's literally in the first sentence, it talks about managers, leaders, management training program. So those are, all you have to do is look at an application that you're looking to apply to, or a general like field, and pull out words that are in the job description. And those are the keywords, and you don't even have to do the work. They're going to come knocking on your door asking you, do you need a job? So little behind the scenes tip. So
that's really helpful. Because I know it's one thing we express to, students when we're working with the resumes and the job description is, making sure that you are putting in those keywords, and, whether there is a specific human looking at your resume, or if it is something where it's an automated system where, an applicant tracking system where they're pulling, those keywords just based on, the fact that you get thousands, per day or per, position, whatever else.
Yeah. And those can be changed. I mean, I change my search strings all the time. If I don't feel like I'm getting a lot, I'll look at like other companies that are in the same city as wherever I'm looking for in that time. And like Hy-Vee, it's a great customer service position. So that's like one of the companies that I love to see applications from. So that's a search you can add in, or you can search by like college. And so, but I guess the first step in all that is getting your resume out there and putting it up there, so people like us can be in contact with you too.
Talking about LinkedIn makes me think of something else as well. So your presence online, we search. I look at people's Facebooks and Instagrams, so just be really cognizant of what you have out there, because that can count against you in some instances.
Now we want to have a do tell moment. Just kidding. The most interesting things you found.
So I've got a question that we get sometimes from students. I'm not sure if either of y'all do this, but some employers do reach out to students on Handshake and, you know, send them messages. And you talked about doing that on LinkedIn and that kind of thing. So what does a student do when they get one of those messages? Because our students in general don't seem to know how to respond when someone connects with them. I think they're sort of shocked, right? They're like, what do they want? You know, so could you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I love Handshake. Handshake's one of my newest, most favorite things. I love messaging people. It's just like I think it's just a door that maybe they haven't explored, and I'm here to open it and tell you about it. For me, it's not meant to be an interview. Even it's the same way as I would connect on any platform, whether it's LinkedIn, Indeed, Handshake. We have platforms called like Athlete Network that work with different schools in that sense, and so on and so forth. And no matter what it is, it's just meant to be a conversation on, hey, what are you looking for in a job, and what can I find for you here and tell you about? So it's just meant to be a conversation on my end. You haven't even applied yet, so for me, it's just getting our name out there. And I found, and this is how I found out about the job is through someone like me reaching out to me. And so that's why I love it so much, because I would have never probably applied here if someone didn't knock on my door. So just think of it as a conversation. You can pick our brains on those types of things. So ask any questions that you've got there.
Yeah, I don't use Handshake quite in that way, like reaching out to people, but I do use it to advertise all of our positions. So I would say, yeah, definitely keep an eye on Handshake. It's one of the biggest things now. It wasn't a thing when I was in college, so I had to kind of learn about it, but it is really awesome. But yeah, as far as kind of reaching out of the blue, I know I cold call some applicants just to, answer some questions. We're not trying to surprise you. It's more of, we have a question and just relax and think about it. And so we kind of go that route sometimes, but yes, for Handshake, it's great.
Thank y'all.
Any other questions? We're getting towards, closer to the end of the session today. So if you have any questions, if you're applying for one, an internship now, or if you're planning on it, now's your time to get it firsthand from Amanda and Jennifer. I want to know, how are the Zoom, interviews going? Do you find that those are becoming, are students, showing up at still like in sweatshirts and just, kind of random things, or, because I know, being in a place where, you have quiet space may be hard for some, especially if they're at home, and with COVID and whatnot. So, but I mean, are students, do you feel like they're still taking it professionally, as an interview, or is it just kind of like, I'm here, I'm on camera?
So my interviews are just phone interviews for the first round. We do 3 rounds in total. So with the territory that I've covered, it's always been that way. And so I do, whenever I set someone up for the second and third round interview, whether it's virtual or in person, I do put like tips and tricks at the bottom, and going back to like following directions. That is one thing that's really important. It talks about like what to wear and what to bring and what to expect and the types of questions to expect, and to, be early. And so we do talk about those things, and that is in one of all of your follow-up emails with me whenever I confirm the next step. So I think with the career fairs though, like those were all virtual, and I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about it. You know, we understand it's not the most ideal circumstances. I'm still working in an office, which I am very thankful for. But, you know, we understand that we have background noise and things that are coming up too. So just don't let it like ruin your interview. You know, don't let it ruin your confidence. Just keep going and, you know, move forward. So it's okay.
Yeah, we only really do phone interviews as well. So, you know, I hear people's pets, I hear car noises, which is totally fine. And, you know, it's completely okay to acknowledge that and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Where it gets a little tricky is when, you know, people don't really plan ahead for when their interview is. So maybe they get stuck in their car while they're driving and I say, no, I'm not gonna, we can reschedule for that. I know I had one interview where it sounded like the person was out on a hike and I could barely hear him, didn't seem to be super interested in my interview, but yeah, so it's super important to, you know, give yourself that quiet space, and it'll make you feel more confident with no surprises coming up.
Yeah, and with that too, I think that's where I love looking up people's profiles on LinkedIn and connecting with them after the interview or in the middle of the interview. I pretty much always search them on LinkedIn. So I think it's important to, because we don't do virtual and you might not find that throughout the process, that's up to date. Like that's almost my way of like looking into more what you're interested in, and where Jennifer looks at the cover letters more, that is kind of my little side look at things, and to see what you've liked and what you've shared and what's important to you, and those types of things. And so I think LinkedIn's come a long way since I graduated too. But I mean, you can even put your projects in there and the classes that you're taking, and there's just so many things you can do with it now that I think that would be really important for people to focus on too.
Well, thank you. Students, I'll give you another chance here to ask any more questions before we wrap it up today. And Jennifer, I'm not 100% sure if you're on LinkedIn, but I know Amanda is.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can search me. But I did want to say another way to stand out in your interview is ask questions at the end, because it makes you sound more interested, and we love answering questions. So
Good. All right. Well, I thank you both so very much for taking time to, like I was telling Amanda, you know, like during the busy time here of hiring season and whatever else, for helping our students with this is extremely invaluable. And like, we're, you know, hoping that this continues every single year where we, you know, this program grows. So really, again, thank you so much. And students, thank you so much for joining today on one of your days off. So go get some rest, and we'll see you all back here, you know, when everyone's feeling normal again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
thanks. It was nice to meet you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.